Hi, welcome to Design It with Tammy Gibbs. I'm Tammy, and today I'm going to be exploring with you the different ways that you can use Artistly to create illustrated children's storybooks. And I know there's has been a very popular niche lately. Lots of people wanting to learn how to do storybooks, and Artistly does have several tools that are good in the scheme of things, but I'm going to be exploring some of the less, I guess, obvious ways that you can use it. I hear a lot of people in the group and people that are commenting in my group and having difficulties with the storybook generators. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about different options that you can use Artistly still for within the creation of your storybooks. Now, a lot of this is going to depend on whether you are depending on the storybook creator to actually write your story. And that's an entirely different sort of a thing, a different path. Personally, um, I'm an author, so I do it the old-fashioned way. I come up with my story, and for clear transparency, I have published novels before, but I have a lot of short stories, not short stories, but well, children's stories that I have written, but I was never able to find an illustrator for. And so now what I'm doing is I'm actually working on doing illustrations for stories I already have. So, full transparency, I have not put any of these out yet. I'm in that illustration stage, but I am from a publishing background where I have published fiction novels and other, of course, I have my playbooks, but in addition to that, other nonfiction titles that happened previous to me knowing a thing about AI or getting involved with AI at all. So that's just a little background there. So, what you see is going to be me working with doing my research, knowing how storybooks are put together in the traditional sense of the word, and then trying to help you understand that you have a lot of different options if you've become frustrated with not being able to get what you're looking for by using just the generators in their intended use. So, Artistly has so many different moving parts until there's just about something for everybody and the way you want to use it. So, you just have to figure out kind of how you want to do that. So, in traditional storybooks, most of the time, rather than doing the individual pages, they work in page spreads. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let me see if I can find one here. So, let's say here. Okay. So, this would be, and I'm not sure why this image is not, let's move that down there. Okay. Let's move her back here, and I'll show you in a few minutes how to do this. Anyway, let's copy her, and then let's go back into this one. Okay, so Canvas, let me refresh this page. This needs to be refreshed. Okay, so this would be a single page example, okay? And then let's scroll back over here to these double page spreads. Okay, so here is an example of like a 2-page spread. And I also have, and let me pull up and show you how this works. These were not created inside the storybook generator. So let's go to the downloads, and I'm just going to show you. Okay. So if you're doing one of those 2-page spreads, basically what happens is when you do your PDF, there's a special way, and I'm just doing mine, setting it up inside Affinity Publisher, which is a free program, by the way. But then when you get ready to, it's going to dissect your pages, and then it's going to arrange, then the person that you sent it to be printed at, like KDP or whatever, is going to arrange these pages back in the order where that when it prints it and it's folded, the right pages are going to line up inside that book. So your double pages are going to be divided kind of like that into halves. Okay. So when you're designing, like this one will go right down the middle here in that 2-page spread. So when you're designing a lot and you want to design like this, you absolutely can. You're just basically using your prompting to get your elements so that they work with your story. And I just put out a storybook playbook, and it basically gives you different ways and ways that you can set your prompts up so that you can get the similar styling, and it tells you, which things to adjust and change throughout in order to get different scenes and everything. So let me show you a couple of examples of some stuff I did. So, like this particular one, I created my story. I created this image, and I liked, actually, it wasn't this image, it's actually this one. This is the image I adjusted, and you can see that I have the same little character here. I have her with her back turned here, and then I have her, let's see if I can find where, and this is inside Canva because Canva is what I used to do another step, which I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay, so let me just go back in and go back to the uploads here, and I'll show you. This was my original image that the character and everything came out of. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how you can take and use Canva now to basically mine your images. This is like the best feature ever. It works hand in hand with Artistly so well because I created this image, and let me go in and show you inside. I'll show you what it did. Whoops. Okay. So I created this image way down here. I believe this was it. Yep. And I'm not going to be really showing the prompts, mainly because what I'm showing you now are the beginnings of the storybook illustrations for some of my books. So I hope you understand that I don't want to show you my raw prompts because of that, because that's an ongoing project for me that I will be putting out there. But anyway, so this was where I actually created this image. I liked this character, and then I took this character, and my next step was, after I had done my scene and my character and everything, was to create, I actually have this image that I created as a scene to go with this book. You see the cute little bed and everything? Okay. So then we're going to go back over into Canva, and I'm going to show you what I did with that. Now, this one in particular was not a 2-page spread. So it's kind of a different, to show you a different way or whatever. I will probably go back and convert this into a 2-page spread, but I wanted to just illustrate on a small scale for you. So um, this will be expanded. And then more than likely, what's going to happen when I change it out is the middle will go somewhere around the middle of this. And then there will be more room on each side like that. So that's fine. But this was where it went to. I created this scene with my little character. Now, how did I isolate my character out of this image that I showed you here? Not that one. Da, da, da. Where's it at? How did I get there? This one. How did I get it out of that? And how did I make her sit down even and have a different expression? Okay, so let's go up here. And I basically told it to keep the character style, but that she should be sitting cross-legged, okay? So then I ended up with this one, and then I decided I wanted to change her expression. Now, how I changed her expression is I went over into my playbook on mastering character creation, and it has a whole lot of phrases that I can use to get different emotions, different skin color, hair color, for a lot of things. This one works hand in hand with the storybook one. It came out first because people want to give expressions to all sorts of different art, and so but it is definitely a good hand in hand with the AI arts, the storybook creator. So anyway, so that's how I did that. And so I was able to go in. Now, where did I go in? This one was done in consistent characters. So basically, I took that original character. I went back. I didn't change from this one to this one. I don't think. Yeah. Maybe I did. I think I did. I did go from this one to this one. So I used this one in consistent character, and then I had it change the expression. So I'm going to try to do an example of that for you. And we'll just pick out another expression and see if we can get it to work. Now, I will say 100%, this doesn't work it doesn't work every time, and there is a little bit of trial and error. But when you stop and think about and put things into perspective, if you were writing a book, a children's book, sometimes that can take, I mean, if you do it traditionally and you're coming up with your story, that could take months. Some people spend years coming up with the concepts for their books. And then sometimes, as far as illustration goes, that process can be months to get the right illustrations to work through it all. So AI does give you the ability to do things faster, but it's still got a lot. I mean, if you're wanting to take yourself out of all of it and let AI do all of the work and you really don't want to have that ownership, then there are the generators where you just say, I want a book about this, and it's going to write everything, it's going to give you the illustrations. But if you don't like something in there, most of the illustrator generate the storybook generators that I'm seeing still have a gap there, which does not allow you to go in and personalize to the degree that maybe you would want to. So I am just offering an alternative way that you can do this. And then in a future video, I'm going to go in and give you some ideas on how you can still use the storybook generator, but put your own spin on it and that sort of thing. So I'll do that in a different video, but this one I just want to do sort of an overview on what is possible. And so what we're going to do is we're in this consistent character feature. We're going to go to 3D and 2D images. We're there. We're going to choose the image that we want to change. So we're going to change this one. And we're going to change the expression. So we're going to basically tell it to leave the style the same and the character the same, except change the expression to, and then we're going to go over here to that playbook. And we're going to pull out another one of the expressions to try on it. So let's find something that would be enough of a difference that we'll be able to tell a difference in it. And I'm just looking for kind of the right one to use. Okay, so we're going to try this sort of sad look, maybe. And we're just going to see if that works. There's no such thing as guarantee when AI is involved. It's more like experimentation. Oops, what did I do? Okay. 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 So here she is with a sad expression. She's still wearing the same clothes and everything. Now, I'm going to go back. I really like her though, so I'm going to download her because she's really cute. And then we're going to take her over here. And I'm going to have to work on it because you see how this has like that paper grain over the certain elements in here. I've got sort of a mixture here, which I kind of am digging the mixture of having a little bit more texture in certain spots on this, but I'm going to take and duplicate this page so I don't mess up mine. And then we're going to upload this one. And I'm going to go right here and add just a blank page. Okay, so we're going to take this one, this cute little girl with her sad expression, which I think is so, so cute, so expressive. And then I'm going to show you a trick on Canva Pro. And if you do storybooks, this is probably going to be, if you haven't already gotten Canva Pro, this is probably going to be something that you're going to want to get because it is like I'm literally obsessed with this particular thing. And because it is just so super cool and easy and just opens up so many opportunities. So it is called Magic Layers. You click on the button, it does its magic, and in just a few seconds, I did a video on magic layers, but not really necessarily in this context. And now I have my little girl. Now she does have a little shadow, which is actually not bad and actually kind of needed in storybooks. So I'm going to take her and make a copy, and then I'm going to drag over here, and let's change. The wording wouldn't be the same for this, but I'm just going to take her out of this, And then I'm going to paste the other one in, make her the right size. And we can put her right here. And as you see, having that little bit of shadow is perfect. It actually makes the image blend in so much easier. So I don't worry about those shadows. I mean, if it was a bad one, then I would go in and try to fix that or redo it. But she is so super cute, and this is going to be a pose that I will use in a different scene. But I wanted to just show you this one. And now, what if we want to do a little bit different? We can flip her horizontally, and then she's facing this direction. So, and still, that shadow was perfect. It gives dimension, and it makes her fit into that scene more realistically. She's not sitting on top of it, she is made into a part of it. Another thing you can do is if your image is a little bit off color wise or anything like that, as long as you're consistent with it from page to page, you can go over and you can use the filters here to sort of, change up a little bit if you want to work with coloring to make sure that she blends in just properly. Or my original coloring is actually pretty good, but see how cute that is. And this is something you need to know as well. When a traditional illustrator illustrates from page to page, the character is going to be similar but not 100% identical. The AI actually, so if you understand that, you need the character to be recognizable, but if it differs a tiny bit in, you want the facial structure, all that stuff, you want all that stuff to be the same, because a traditional artist is going to be the same thing. But in some scenes, like if it's turning a certain direction and stuff like that, it may not be a mirror image of your character, but it's recognizable. Like this one, her face is different because she has her eyes closed, and but when you go over and look, the nose is the same, the eyebrows are basically the same. You want to be close enough. Her ears are the same. So she is the same character, but the facial expressions are going to change the look just a tiny bit, and that's okay because that actually is going to be more realistic to a real illustrated storybook. So if you really want that authentic storybook feel, you definitely can get it. And Artistly and other generators, not just Artistly, because my playbooks tend to work with all different, they may work in different ways, but people using different generators besides Artistly use all my playbooks. And so they're not, they weren't really designed specifically for Artistly. Artistly is just what I use, and so it's usually what I demo. And I do believe that Artistly has some features like the consistent character one. But however, you can go in and let's try it this way and see what the difference is. Sometimes you can use, and let me go in and just copy this. Okay. I'm going to copy this just to make it quicker. And then we're going to go into the design assistants and go to human stylizer. And we're going to select that image again, this one, and then we're going to paste our prompt direction. And we're going to see what the difference in how Human Stylizer treats this character. And this time we're going to add that and scene and the character. So we'll see if it'll put it in the same scene as well. So, Artistly actually has several different ways that you can get these consistent characters. But it all depends on how you word that direction inside the consistent character feature and also the human stylizer. It's all about the wording, just like it is with creating the original character to start with. Okay, so see, now we have also. Now this is a little different expression, and I like it as well. So see, now we had it stay inside this scene. So if we wanted to use a scene just like this, we could actually just use this as is. Now we still may want to run the magic layers over it because we may want to, and let's try that. We may want to actually go in and we're going to do this, add a page, upload. And we'll run that same thing on it. Now this one got more of the texture, I believe, in this version. It kept more of the texture, but remember, I adjusted that prompt. So if we do that inconsistent character, I would probably get the texture as well. So let's do this and I'll show you, even if I were going to keep this particular scene and wanted it done just like this, by running the Magic Studio, Magic Layer feature inside Canva Pro, it's going to allow me to make a few modifications to this scene that we might want to do. So change it up a little bit. Okay, so now we can move our little girl around a little bit. So we can make her smaller because right now she looks enormous. We could put her right back there. We can also move and put these flowers like bigger here, like that. We could move these and make them bigger too. We could move the house, and maybe we wanted to bring the house a little closer or maybe a little farther back, like that. So it gave us a little bit of different options to change that scene around. So we're however we wanted to do it. We could even take her and we could make her really small and we could put her back here. Like that. So it gives us lots of ways to modify the scene, the character, move the character around and everything. So it gives us some options. We can change, we could flip her around. You know, there's just so many things you can do. So then basically what my steps are is once I sort of edit the pages and get them the way that I want to, then I would more than likely I will run them through an upscaler. And then I will, of course, before I bring it in, I can upscale as well. So I probably will do that too. And then you can take them over into your Affinity program. And I'm going to do a video on how to do the 2-page spreads and how to set it up to have it make the PDF where it splits the double spreads in two. And like I said, that's more important when you're going to be doing the 2-page spreads where you want to have it just like a real storybook and you want the image to, when you open the page, you want the image to go on both sides, or perhaps you want and the new playbook actually gives you lots of different layouts, like where to put your wording, your text, and how to hopefully add that to your prompt so that it'll leave you some spaces that are appropriate to put that text. Now, as I said, I think before, I am going to do a video on affinity and how to set that your double page spreads up in there, and then how to take that, and then um, how to save it or export it so that it will split it for you the appropriate way. So I'll be doing a video on that soon. So keep an eye out on that as well. Now, one of the things that I did that I was able to do is in my original image, um, the entire floor was kind of like this, but I wanted a space that I could do down here that the writing would show up on. And so basically what I did was, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to a blank page, but I'm going to show you how like originally this image produced another character here, but I loved the scene. And so I did the magic layers. And I was able to remove that character altogether. And then I could actually move all of these items if I wanted to. It would allow me to move, like I could take that object off if I wanted to. How cool is that? I mean, that's so cool. Now, a lot of times it won't do every single image, but it does a lot of them. Now, what I did was I went in and I went over to the magic eraser. Okay. And I added this brush here for the magic eraser. And then what I did was I just went over all of this down here and kind of just swept it like this. And then oops, I did wrong. Hang on, let me go backwards. Let's go out of this. Da, da, da. Okay, let me go backwards. Okay. Let me do this again. Okay, so I went here to magic eraser, and then I just kind of skimmed over. Now you can remove the whole thing if you do it the wrong way. But a lot of times, if you just kind of sweep over it lightly, it kind of blends it a little bit so that you don't have all of the little lines in there. It kind of smooths it. So let's see what this is going to do. Oh my goodness, it is definitely reset tools. Confirm. Okay. All right. Let's try it this way. I promise I did it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so anyway, I was able to blend this. I'm not sure, I was doing it a different way and it was just erasing everything. But I did this just around across the bottom and made me sort of a little spot here. This particular image, it worked well. It may not do it each time. And see there, I did it. I went over it again and it did it. But anyway, you can play with that. That's what I did. I'm going to go backwards. Okay, you can see where it did blend it there. But I think I have the strength of it set a little too high. But anyway, that's how I did that. Now, you can also prompt for having spaces like that, like I mentioned. But this is just another option. And if that doesn't work in there, you can always take it into Affinity and take a brush and kind of do a blending or do a, um, yeah, blend like a blending brush. So anyway, that's really cool. I think you can probably already see, and the light bulb's probably going off right now in your head. Like so many ideas of ways that you can do this. So the using the story book, hang on, using the storybook maker or generator inside Artistly is not the only way you can use Artistly to create your books. And you may think that it is a longer process, but in actuality, it doesn't have to be. But it does open up your creativity and allow you to produce um, storybooks that are going to be really unique and um, have the potential to make you more money. Because if you go in and you actually look at what really sells, and let's just go into Amazon and let's talk about this a little bit. We know that there are certain things and certain ways that that you're going to be competing on Amazon. So we're just going to go to children's illustrated storybooks. And so, depending on the age group that you are, and let's go up and see if we can find the bestsellers in that. Let's see, let's go down to books and let's go to children's books. And now we're looking at the Amazon bestsellers. Now, obviously, you've got different ones. You've got early learning, you've got fairy tales and myths and all of that stuff. You've got activities, animals, cookbooks, classics. So, depending on what you're actually doing, like if you're wanting to do just a basic I'm not even sure. I'm not even seeing anything that really action and adventure maybe. See, these are for older kids. So maybe early learning. Okay, let's look at the early learning ones, okay, just to kind of see. So you can see different styles of books that are popular. Now, these are done a lot with primary colors and things like that, but there's also so many different styles that you can use. You always want to do your research. Honestly, even if we have a story inside us, if we're really wanting to market our books, a lot of what we need to do is research before we write. Research and find out what certain things, because a lot of times we can actually adapt our stories. Let's just say, for instance, we've got the cutest little story and it's about a pig. But right now pigs are not doing. Could that story line be adapted to a unicorn or a caterpillar, or can you adapt your story to a different, more popular thing at the time? And I know that sounds super commercial, but it doesn't mean you can't write that story for what it was originally conceived as. It just means you may be able to break in if you easier than if you're writing on something that nobody's looking for. So that's just a publishing tip there, of how most people that are in publishing or they're authors, they do a bit of market research and then they try to give the public what they want. I mean, all of us have those stories in us that we want to come out, but sometimes those are the stories that maybe are not going to be the ones that necessarily are the ones that are going to make us money. So we also have to keep our options open. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out just from experience. But this is a good way for you to look into what is actually selling. Just kind of scour the bestsellers. A lot of them are going to be the same bestsellers that, Goodnight Moon, Happy Easter Mouse, there's a Llama Llama Red Pajama. You know, that bestseller list is very, very, very full of very traditional, and a lot of times, I mean, how old is corduroy? I mean, and it is still literally selling now. So that gives you an idea that if you put out that book that actually hits just right, you could be making money off of that book forever, you know. But it also makes you want to notice those that aren't as familiar to you when you're looking at these lists, and then look at how they present, and like How to Catch a Unicorn. Now this one, super cool. You can see the 2-page spreads in this one, the way that they do the 2-page spreads.
Discover the magical world of How to Catch a Unicorn. Join the quest with clever traps and enchanting unicorns. Perfect for young readers, ages 4 to 10, durable hardcover, with 40 vibrant pages. Part of the beloved How to Catch series.
See how cool? So, learn the business that you're trying to break into. That again is a piece of advice. It's really easy for us when we're using AI to work in an isolated bubble, that we're just doing images, or we're just doing this, or we're using the generator and it's spitting out a book. But look, this is cute. They have a whole series, How to Catch a Dinosaur. Never copy. Concepts, styles of art, the presentation of the way it's presented. That's one thing, but don't copy other people. You have it, trust me, within you. You have enough creativity to be all original, all on your own. And that's what I love to see, is when the creators really jump out there and they discover their own art style, their own writing style, all of these things, because you've got it in there. You just have to look for it and trust that you can be more creative than what you could ever copy from someone else. But see, here's the tale of Peter Rabbit. So you see more, this is more along the lines of the type of images that I'm after. Not to write a Peter Rabbit book, but the watercolor, the soft. But see here, in the way this is presented, you can see how they treated their text. So you can learn a lot by looking at real books. Go in your kid's bedroom, pull out books, and see where they put how they treat text. And then you recreate, and you can use that when you're creating your own books. So I believe we're going to have a lot of fun as we explore this series. And be sure and check out this new storybook playbook, because it does have so many positive things that will help you through this process. Let me just go and show you. Let's see. I've got to find my table of contents here. Okay, so basically these are the different um, these are the different um, sections. We've got the elephant in the room, and I felt like this was super important because there is so much AI pushback, especially in the world of publishing. And so you need to be aware of it so you can navigate that landscape, because there's nothing more upsetting than to put a lot of your heart into a project and then have people discount it or want to not validate you because you used AI. Whether you used AI and you wrote your book yourself and you just used it as an illustration method, or whether you use a generator and you produce through your direction a book that you allow AI to write for you. There are lots of arguments out there, and so I hit this head on and wanted to just put it out there and talk about it. So that's the way that we start the storybook creator. And then we talk about story world foundations. These are anchors that make a storybook world feel real. And then you've got storybook illustration language, so understanding about page moments and composition for your book. And then the character builder for storybooks, how to create characters that feel warm and clear and repeatable without getting stuck on trying to be perfect. And then we have the scene builder, like how to create the interiors, exteriors, the magical settings, and prop libraries so your worlds feel lived in and story rich. Then we have the page moment prompt template library, and it is a massive collection of ready to use prompts or phrasing so you can build storybook pages fast and consistently. And then I have a section on from prompt packs to creation techniques. So you choose your workflow that fits how you create, and then it helps you with that. And then the asset illustration system is how to illustrate storybooks with characters, scenes, and props as assets. Because when you collect these things, then the cool thing is you can actually reuse these in even different storybooks. Think about if you're doing a series, if you can make these props and these assets, and then you can actually pull them in and use them when you're illustrating a future storybook. For instance, let's go back to our little character here. Let's just say you're writing another storybook that has this character in it, but you need to change her up a little bit. Like, she's not going to be wearing the same clothes in the next book. Maybe she has a different color bow. So you can go in then, and since you already have the character, you can go back in and then you can go to consistent character. You can grab her. You can and we'll just keep the scene because we would take her out of the scene anyway. Keep the scene and style the same, but the character should be standing and wearing a pink tutu and ballet slippers. Okay, we're going to see just how complex we can do. So you don't necessarily have to start all the way over. Okay, so see, now I would go back and I would make it. You see how it kind of changed her and it took away the grain and the painting look and everything. It put her in the tutu. I could be way more explicit about what the tutu looked like. In volume 2, that's the clip art playbook. I have a whole lot of a whole section on fashion and clothing and that sort of thing. So that is the perfect playbook to use also with this. So you've got the mastering character creation. You've also got the one, volume 2, that has the clothing in it. And then you have the storybook one. So all three of those actually can be used together to give you just almost unlimited combinations that you can use. But what I would do if I were doing this is I would go back in and I would probably use the human stylizer. And let's just see what the difference is here. And then go into the design assistants, try the human stylizer, choose this one again, and then we're going to paste this in. But the character should be standing in. Okay, apply the same texture and style to the character as the rest of the image. Now, I didn't tell it to change the expression, so she's still going to have a sad face. And it does, when you're using human stylizer, it does take a few. Okay. So you still get that expression, but to me, I would have to do a little bit more because the character looks to have changed just a teensy tad more in this particular, but I like the tutu better. So, like I said, that's the way you would do it, but you would have to make your amendments and stuff. I don't have time to go into that. This is one of my, I just squirreled a bit, so we'll go back to. Hey, I couldn't just leave it though because I just couldn't leave my little girl like that. So I did go back in to consistent characters again, and I just went back to the original standing image, which helped. So you can always go back to your original character and try to make your edit from there if you're having trouble or it's changing it too much. So that's definitely something you can do. It worked the first time. I got the little, sort of like a little ballet looking dress with some little ballet slippers and everything. And I could be a little bit more specific about the dress. The way I worded it, I got exactly what I worded. But this is, I could go back in and then change her facial expression. Sometimes it's better to do it in little increments instead of trying to tell the AI in these editing situations to do too many tasks at one time. Usually it's going to prioritize one and maybe leave off the others. So a lot of times it's just better to try to do it. But now I would have this character, the same character that I could use in a different storybook where she's wearing a ballet thing. And all I'd have to do is just take her into Canva, use that magic layers, remove her, kind of save her as an asset. And then I could pull her back into a scene that I wanted to with a ballet backdrop or a park or wherever I wanted to use her, but I'm going to still get my same character. So if I want to do a series with this character in it, now I've got the basis to create from. So anyway, I just had to jump back in and tell you that. So now I'll return back to the rest of what we were doing, the where we were over here. Anyway, so like I said, you can use those characters in different things. You can dress them differently. You can, once you get a library of the different elements that you used, then you can use them so many different ways. And I think that is just really cool and a neat way if you plan to do like a series or something. Now, the Runaway Bunny, you see, again, you have this softer. So, it kind of just depends on what particular kind of book that you're looking for. Whether you want it to be more like mine with the watercolor, or if you want it to be more like some of okay, if I can get off this page. There we go. Okay. So if you want it to be, this is also watercolor, but you can make them however you want. This one's an activity book, and you can see that it's a little bit more bright and cartoony. So there is a huge variety of types of um, children's stories. So you just pick what works for you. And then, these techniques that I'm using can be used regardless of the style. So if you wanted to, for instance, if you wanted to have something similar, so let's just say, let's do this here. Okay, regenerate. And oh, okay. I'd have to go out. So let's go back out here. See if I can find one. Like this, if you wanted to create more of the illustration design, then you can do that with any of these Illustrator. You want to create your base character for, you want to create those characters and get them just the way you want to, and then worry about putting them into the scenes and changing their mannerisms and their posture, how they're standing, what clothing they're wearing, and stuff like that. The first thing you want to do is nail down the look that you want the book to take. While that's doing, let me just kind of go through and show you some of the other ones that I've done. Now, see, we've all got all kinds of different cool things. Okay, let's take this one and see if we can get the human stylizer to potentially expand that for us, like change the aspect ratio. There it is. Okay, so expand this image to fit the new aspect ratio. Keep the image the same and same style and colors. Sometimes it'll get it and sometimes it won't. It'll change things too much, and you have to just see how you can change to fit the character or the style that you want. That's again, part of your individual, creativity is you making those decisions, because the more decisions you make in the process, the more vested you are in that image that comes out. And okay, so now we actually do have a image that we can pull in over here. Let's go back over here. And we're going to upload that one. And I'll show you how you can see we took the image, but we let Human Stylizer basically turn it into a 2-page spread for us. So now what I have to do is take my character, copy her, and put her over here back into the scene like this. And then basically this right here, oops, we can also take, if you want to, and you can go into here and go to this magic expand, and then you can do the freeform, and you can actually, it's already down here, so you can have it to expand so that you have more white space on the bottom. Like this one. This one is probably the best if we were going to do that. So now we can put her up here. And it always says it's better to kind of have you don't really want it going down the middle of her face. So if we divided this in half, it would lay about like that. So that way she is over here. And so that's good. We could put her up here if we wanted to, or we can put her right there. I think I like her right there. And then if we wanted to put our text in, we would just add the text. And we'll put the text wherever we wanted it. Oops. We could put it right there. Whatever we wanted to do. We could put it over to the side, but probably centered would be better. So that's just some ways that you can do that. We could also have, we could have run it a couple more times to see if the expansion would have lightened this up down here. But if we want to rub out some of this, we can also do that edit and go in with the brush, and we can sort of rub over this a little bit, and we can actually kind of blend. So here she is after I've sort of blended all that in, and I moved my text back in there, and we have a 2-page spread. And so then I would just go in and download my pages. This has been such a fun video, and I hope you've enjoyed a little glimpse into some other ways that you can use Artistly to create your characters and create your scenes. And I hope you'll check out the new Storybook Creator playbook that I just put out. Of course, I don't know when you're going to be watching this. This is 3/16 of 26, but anyway, it's a brand new one at this time. But anyway, check on that Storybook Creator playbook. And also the other two that I mentioned in the video is Volume 2, which is the clip art playbook, which is now only available on that one is only available on Gumroad. The other two, the Mastering Character Creation and then the Storybook Creator, are both on Etsy. And all three of those are on sale right now, so you can get them 50% off, which is a great deal. And so anyway, just check those out, and I'm going to be scrolling through now. Two of the books are going to be in this scroll of the other playbooks and everything, but the last one, the storybook one that's newer as of this recording, that one is not in the slides yet. But anyway, I have that kind of scroll through in case you're new and you kind of want to get a quick glance through some of the different playbooks that I have. And they're all from the best-selling Etsy. Well, it was on Etsy. It was best-selling playbook series, and so I have quite a few different ones. And I want to invite you to go to my website and um, take a look around. I have a lot of different things. I have clip art. I have my playbook store. I have some other things like invitations and things like that. But it's a learning hub as well. So I do have a freebie section. I'll be adding some new freebies soon. I have a couple there. I have a newsletter that I put out, and so you can sign up for it. Also, there are links to my Facebook group that you're it's free to join, and you're welcome to join it. And if for some reason you have sent and tried to join that group, and for some reason I have not accepted you, please send me a message either here on YouTube or on that and let me know what your name is. There are a few criteria that I look at just to try to keep spammers out. So sometimes people get caught up, if you have a ton of groups that you belong to, or, there's just different little flags. So if for some reason you've been sitting and waiting for a while, please reach out to me and I'll make sure that you get into the group. So anyway, so thank you so much again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. And until next time, happy creating.